Welcome to the Mroczenski family farm in Athens, Wisconsin. This picturesque dairy farm has been in the Mroczenski family for 43 years. This 235-acre farm is home to 50 Holsteins, 3 ponds, a wetland, woods, a milking operation, Mark and Dawn Mroczenski, and their 3 sons, Joel, Luke, and Paul. In 1992, Mark and Dawn turned this traditional dairy into a rotational grazing operation.
Right now we have about 180 acres tillable, which about 100 acres is fenced that we can rotationally graze those acres, and the other 75 to 80 acres is on the other side of the road, and those acres are in permanent hay fields, which we mechanically harvest for winter feed. We do have some wetland on the farm. Well, there's 3 ponds, the one large pond, which is like 1.5 acres, and there's 2 smaller ponds that are also on the farm property.
Personally, I think that having a grazing operation is safer, especially if you have children.
Well, I think it's a great place to raise a family. We have 3 sons, and they learn a good work ethic just by seeing what we do, and they have chores to do. They get to participate in other things like other kids, but they have room to run and play. And as far as grazing, I think it makes it a safer place. Farming is a dangerous occupation, but we don't operate a lot of equipment, so I think that helps keep our kids safer. I like that part of it. I like that the cows are clean. I like that we have clean water, fresh air. That's all important to me.
Grazing allows the family to stay on the farm in an environmentally friendly and economically sound way. At a time when many farms are expanding, Mark and Dawn are staying small. The milk from the farm is sold to a local cheese factory, which has its own local cheese store. With NRCS and county conservation assistance, they follow a conservation plan, including nutrient management and prescribed grazing. These practices, as well as wildlife enhancements, have rewarded them as Tier 3 participants in the Conservation Security Program.
Mark and Dawn came in the office last March and they signed up for the Conservation Security Program. Their farm ranked as one of our top farms and they were easy in. In addition to all their resource concerns being met, they've decided to do some more conservation work in the areas of wildlife and energy. They put up additional birdhouses, they've done some things with their wetland, and they've conducted an energy audit on their farm, and they're starting to recycle their used motor oil as a result of the Conservation Security Program.
Mark and Dawn were one of the first farms in the county to establish rotational grazing.
I've been working with Mark and Dawn for over 15 years to install conservation practices on their farm, starting with their first 40 acres that they fenced and installed the watering system and planted the proper grasses and legumes to get the rotational grazing started. And we've done, over the last 15 years, we added another 50 acres to the rotation and did a lot of lane improvement work and improved the fencing system they had previously installed. That is, along with nutrient management on their farm and some wildlife practices that we installed, and really just managed the grasslands better for wildlife. They've installed bluebird housing all around their perimeter of their farm. They've also managed their pastures so they don't harvest and clip early on, so the birds have a lot of grassland nesting bird success on their farm. And they've also just started to graze all their pastures taller, so that benefits the wildlife in general, anywhere from hawks nesting in their pasture to a lot of the grassland birds that are now declining in the United States.
The Mroczenskis' enthusiasm and willingness to reach out to beginning farmers is well known in the community on rotational grazing, but also on other farm issues, such as transitions and nutrient management. They participated in a 3-year study of nutrient management on grazing farms through the Wisconsin Grazing Lands Conservation Initiative.
And not only how they use grazing systems, but also how they were learning how to and purchasing the farm. They worked with all kinds of young people and established dairy farmers who weren't quite sure how to transition their farm to a new generation. And so they've been very open to helping anybody who wants or has information, whether it's been pasture walks, farm progress days when they were here in 1996, or any time that I had somebody who had questions, their door was always open and they were willing to put whatever time it took in to get somebody else started. They were involved in a multi-year study looking at the profitability of grazing systems, so they actually opened up their books
This early study laid the groundwork for the work being done now by the UW Center for Dairy Profitability, which shows that dairy grazing can compete financially with confinement dairies. Mark is also a frequent speaker at beginning farmer schools and conferences on grazing, goal setting, and family farm operations. The Mroczenskis prove every day that small farms can be profitable and family-friendly while caring for our natural resources.